And so now we have heat. The Big Maxx 50,000 BTU heater. And it's on propane. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's get some formalities out of the way. And first is, this was not done professionally. I did it. I had help from a buddy and watched a lot of videos, got some good advice, read a lot on the forums before I decided to tackle this. And I've looked at it for about 2 years. So this isn't some kind of knee-jerk, put up a heater. It's something that I've really sort of looked at for a long time. And this is what I decided on. And my barn's only about 850 square feet. I had a buddy recommend using this angle iron along with those clevises, and that worked out really, really well. I'm glad I went that way. I've seen where some people have used 2x4s. It only has to be off of the ceiling by an inch. I went 8 inches. 8 inches. And then to cut the back of my vent, it is approximately 8 inches from the top of the heater. So I went down 16 inches from my ceiling, and that's where I decided that we would make a hole for the vent. Now, one thing that I saw on the internet, and it's a true story, it would be easier to start the vent from the outside and then place your heater into position. You're going to have to take measurements, and you need to get it close within, I would say, a couple of inches, because that's the play you're going to have with the heater brackets. And you can see we used all of that play. And I may end up cutting those here in this next week when I mess around with the thermostat wire. And it has to, the vent has to slope up. I believe it's 1/4 inch per foot. So our instructions tell us that the back of the heater needs to be at least 18 inches away from the wall. The fan is about 20, and so I've got plenty of room. I didn't get it too close to the wall, and I also didn't get it too close to the ceiling. Like I said, I'm at least 8 inches off the ceiling, probably closer to 9. But you need to pay attention to those measurements. You can see the vent has tabs. There you go, those are tabs. And it will all fit together, and then you bend the tabs to hold it together. There's also a gasket, and you'll put a little silicone on those. It'll come with a small package, and that will help slide it together, and it stays in place. I didn't go with the B-vent. Opted for a little pricier option. This class 3 is a lot of money, but fortunately I was able to afford it and use it, and hopefully this will be a one-time purchase. I used some tape to cover up the inside, and I also have some heat silicone that I'm going to put on the outside, but this is what I opted for on the inside. Big Maxx heater will allow me to keep the barn warm this winter. I won't have to winterize my boat. I can keep the barn at 45, 50, 60, whatever I want. Mainly because I can get on the app, the Honeywell app, and turn the heater on. I don't even have to have it on all the time. I can turn it on when I want and then set it. And the app will tell you how long the heater has been running. It's actually really cool. And you can set it to a temperature if you want to. But I'm looking forward to that this winter, to be able to control my heat on propane and it not affect my natural gas or my electric bill. That's part of the reasoning behind all this, going to propane. I was very intimidated by this. I didn't want to cut a hole in my barn, and I ended up having to cut two, one for the gas line and one for the vent. So this is the tank I bought at Menards. It was about $1,000, give or take. Plus you're gonna get that 11% back. And I called the propane company once I had poured my pad and picked up my tank and had it set by one of my neighbors, and told them that I was ready for propane. So they came out and they do an inspection of the tank. They also allowed me to buy my regulator from them, and then they did the hookup, as you can see from the house, I say house, from the barn, right here. And they put all this in, and I didn't have to do anything, which I was really thankful for. So I bought my regulator and from them, and then they installed the copper pipe. They came out a few days later and they filled the tank. It is a 120-gallon tank, also known as a 420-pound tank once it's full, but they only put 100 gallons in it. The 20 gallons is that they don't fill it is completely full for expansion. So a 50,000 BTU heater with 100 gallons of propane will give me 200 hours of continuous heat. And we know it's not going to run for 200 continuous hours. So I think it'll get me through a year. I think it'll get me through most of next year also. So that's good. Here's the outside for my class 3 pipe. I went ahead and installed a light out here also. It works on Wi-Fi, so I can get on my phone, turn on the light. I figured since I'm up there anyway, I might as well get it done. I put some heat silicone around the thimble, and that is set. I'm not doing anything else to that. It does take 24 to 48 hours to cure. Not a big deal, but that's the pipe, and you can see it does stick out more than 12 inches. So Menards, I did pour my own pad. That's what it looks like. So I'm going to show you how cool it is to have the Honeywell app with that T5 on the barn. So you can see down here at the bottom, I not only have my main floor and my upstairs bedroom on this app, but I have the barn. And right now I've got the barn set on 50, and I believe the inside's at 59. But I can go to that app and I can hit the barn and I can turn it on. I can set the temperature. It tells me what the temperature in the barn is, and I can hit a button and it'll tell me the run time. And you can see it hadn't run at all this week, but last week it did run a little bit. You can see down here at the bottom, it ran a little bit. And so far I have 57 minutes of use on my propane. And we know that, again, I'm going to say it one more time, I have 100 gallons of propane in that 120-gallon tank. I have a 50,000 BTU heater that uses a half a gallon
of propane per hour. Half a gallon propane per hour. So I have 200 hours of heat based on that propane tank and my 50,000 BTU heater. And so I'm confident that's definitely going to get me through this winter and probably most of next.